are starting Unit 6, Operations with Polynomials, Day 1. So before we get started with any actual math, let's go over a little bit of the important vocabulary. So our essential question for today is, how do we add and subtract polynomials? So before we actually talk about the adding and subtracting of polynomials, let's talk about what a polynomial is. So first, before we talk about a polynomial, we need to talk about a monomial. So a monomial, if you think of what mono means one. And that's exactly what a monomial is, a one variable, a number, or the product of a number and a variable. So a term with only multiplication. That's the only way that it's considered a polynomial. So a constant, so 6 is a constant, n is a variable. 6n is just using multiplication. I know it looks like two separate things, but it's actually one term. There's no plus or minus, there's no adding or subtracting in between these two things. And then 8n squared y. That's actually, it looks like it's long, but it's still only one term. Now a binomial, bi, means two, so an expression that contains two terms. I know I started writing words here, but that are added or subtracted. So now these are going to be, so here are two examples, okay? So 2x plus 5, 5x minus y. So as soon as you add the adding or subtracting, that's when you have two terms. Onto our trinomial. This would be an expression with, of course, three terms that are added or subtracted. So an example of that would be 3x squared plus 2x minus 5. Now, notice with this one, we can't actually combine any of these, okay? So usually when we talk about monomial, binomial, trinomial, a lot of times they cannot be combined to simplify into a smaller polynomial. And then lastly, a polynomial would be kind of the umbrella of all of these terms. So a monomial, or the sum or difference of monomials. So all of these are considered polynomials. They're just specific one. So usually if it has more than three, so 4 or more, we would just call it a polynomial. But technically, monomial, binomial, trinomial, those are all types of polynomials. So as we are going through today's lesson, again, we are talking specifically about adding and subtracting today, okay? Oh, missed one of my vocab, sorry. So standard form is simply polynomials that are written in descending exponential order. So highest to lowest exponential, and the constant is always going to be last, if there is a constant. So for example, 4x squared plus 20x minus 5. All the other examples I gave you actually were in standard form already, and we did talk about standard form when we talked about linear equations. So now, the rules for adding and subtracting polynomials. So when we have our polynomials that we are adding or subtracting, we are going to keep the first polynomial. So don't change anything about it, okay? If terms are negative, keep them negative. Next, we are going to distribute the sign. Now, this is mostly used for subtraction. Obviously, if it's adding, that's not going to change anything. So this is more for subtracting. Then we are going to combine like terms. Combine like terms. So basically, you know, like variables with like variables. So we're going to add or subtract the coefficients. Okay, so remember, if we have 4x, okay, this is the coefficient. Okay, and then we will keep the base. Keep the base and exponent. Okay, so as we do our examples, you'll understand this a little bit better. Maybe if I Alright, so for question number 1, so first we are going to add. Now when we are adding two polynomials, so we are adding two trinomials right now, when we are adding them, you can actually just rewrite the whole thing without parentheses. The parentheses don't matter. The only thing that does matter are the signs, okay? So for example, for this one, so I have 2p cubed plus 6p squared plus 10p plus 9p cubed plus 11p plus 3p. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to underline, and I'm going to use, I'm just going to use different colors, okay? So I'm going to underline all the like terms with a different color. So, and again, the like terms, constants go with constants. And then we just go corresponding to the exponents. So if I have a 2p cubed, and I can rewrite this. So 2p cubed plus 9p cubed. So that would be 11p cubed. Okay. On to the squared. So there's actually only one squared term. So we'll just keep that 6p squared. And then the last thing we have a 10p, an 11p, and a 3p. So 10 plus 11 plus 3, so that would be 24 p's. That's my final answer. Okay, so again, we are just combining like terms, essentially. So now for question number 2, sometimes they might, or you might prefer, to do this horizontally, okay? So if you do this horizontally, you need to make sure, again, that these match up. Now this one already does match up, so that works out nice. And then you literally just work vertically, okay? Sorry, I think I said horizontally before. So we're going to work vertically. So if I have 7w cubed plus 2w cubed, that is just 9w cubed. Okay? Now I'm going to work down for this. So I have a 19w squared, and then I'm adding a negative 5w squared. So that's going to actually equal a positive 14w squared. Then I have 89 plus 1, so that's just going to be 90. So 9w cubed plus 14w squared plus 90. Alright, so with question number 3, this is all again notation, but all it's saying is it wants you to add a and b. So a is 7x cubed plus 9x squared plus 9, and then we're adding that to 2x cubed plus 5. Okay, we can get rid of the parentheses, so all I'm going to do, and now another strategy some people like to use is you can actually like draw shapes around the like terms. Okay, just make sure whatever the sign is in front that you carry it along with it. Okay, so I have 7x cubed, and I'm adding that, so 7x cubed, and I'm adding that to 2x cubed. So what we call this is, we're using kind of the commutative property and the associative property. So remember, the commutative property changes the order, and the associative property changes the grouping. So I'm actually doing kind of both at the same time. So then I just keep all my like terms together and simplify. Okay, and again, you don't need to take all of these steps. Really, they're just there to help you kind of break it down if you need. Okay, so for question number 4, you're really going to have to do those steps from the first page. So let's think about what it said. So it told us to keep the first polynomial. So I'm just going to rewrite this without those parentheses. next thing you're going to do is you're going to change the sign of all the second polynomials. So this is going to be a negative x squared, a negative 11x, and then a positive 9. All right, next thing I'm going to do is so really all you have to do is combine the like terms. I'm actually going to reorder them, and you'll see why. Okay, so 4x squared, that has nothing in front of it, so that's positive. Now this one is a minus x squared, okay? Then I have a minus 7x minus 11 plus 5 and then plus 9. Oh, it's 11x. Okay, so these go together, and these go together. So 4x cubed minus, remember this is like a 1. Okay, so 3x squared. Now I have a minus 7x, or a negative 7x, and I'm subtracting 11x more. So that's going to be negative 18x. And then 5 plus 9, that is 14. And there's my final answer for that. Alright, now I'm going to show you in case you rather do it vertical instead of horizontal. Okay, the biggest thing here is reading the word from. Okay, so that word from is actually saying that I'm doing 3x squared plus 8x minus 7, and then I'm taking away 5x squared plus 2x minus 11. Alright, so I actually like to rewrite this before you do anything, because really this negative is being distributed to this whole entire thing. Okay, so this is actually 3x squared plus 8x minus 7, and then I'm going to change it to kind of an addition problem. So I'm adding negative 5x squared minus 2x and then a positive 11. Okay, so remember this is adding the opposite. And we talked about this earlier in the year. Okay, so 3x squared, and I'm adding a negative 5x squared. So that's actually going to be a negative 2x squared. I have an 8x, and then a negative 2x, so that's going to be a positive 6x, and then a negative 7 plus 11. So that will be a positive 4. And that's your final answer. Alright, so again, another way to look at it, you're actually distributing this negative. So I'm just going to rewrite this real quick. Okay, and then I'm subtracting. It's really so much easier if you have it in parentheses. Minus 11x. And again, you can always rewrite it the horizontal way like we did question number 4. It's really up to you. Okay, so again, I always rewrite this, and this just means that we are distributing the negative. So if you want to think of it, you're kind of multiplying everything by a negative 1. Okay, if you want to think of it that way. Okay, so keep the first polynomial. Sorry, my voice is pretty rough today. Okay, so we are going to change to addition and then change all of the signs. This is going to be a positive x squared plus 11x minus 15. Okay, so 3x, remember this is like a 1, so 4x squared plus 18x, negative 6 minus 15 would be a negative 21. All right, number 7. Okay, 2 more questions. So we are trying, so they gave us what A is, they gave us what B is, we want to do a minus b. So 3x squared plus 5x minus 6. And then I'm subtracting, I'm actually going to put these in parentheses. So I'm subtracting negative 2x squared minus 6x plus 7. So I'm going to rewrite this, keep the first one. So I'm going to change this to addition, and then I'm going to change all of these. So this is going to be a positive 2x squared, positive 6x, and a negative 7. I'm going to regroup them just so it's easier to add. Remember, carry the signs along with them that are in the front of them. So I get 5x squared plus 11x minus 13. So that is choice number 2. Alright, of course the last one is going to be a word problem. Alright, a company produces X units of a product per month. C of X represents the total cost, and R of X represents the revenue for the month. The functions are modeled by 300x plus 250 and negative 0.5x squared plus 800x minus 100. So the profit is R of X minus 6, or C of X. So all we're going to do is rewrite this. So R of X is negative 0.5x squared plus 800x minus 100. And then we are subtracting 300x plus 250. Okay? So remember, keep the first one the same. First polynomial the same. I'm going to change this to addition. This will be a negative 300x, and then this changes to a negative 250. Okay, so let's see. So I get a negative 0.5x squared plus 800x minus 300x minus 100 minus 250. So negative 0.5x squared plus 500x minus 350, which is choice number 2. Choice number 2. Okay? You really got to work that one out before you can choose the correct answer. Okay, so for your homework, you are going to do the think, write, pair, share. Okay, you're going to do this whole page. Okay, so numbers 1 through 9. This is your homework. Numbers 1 through 9.